We often hear stories about missing animals, but what happens when those animals finally find their way home? Sometimes it's days, sometimes months, but in the most amazing cases, years pass before a reunion takes place. And so, without further ado, let's go over the most emotional and unbelievable animal reunions ever captured. What started as a heartbreaking search quickly turned into a miracle rescue operation. In June 2022, Abby, a beloved 13-year-old dog from Missouri, vanished without a trace. Her owner Jeff searched tirelessly, but days turned to weeks, and hope faded. Yet Abby hadn't run away. She was trapped deep underground. 2 months later, a group of explorers ventured into the Barome Moor cave system, and what they found left everyone stunned. Abby was alive, 500 feet below the surface, severely emaciated, but wagging her tail weakly upon seeing her rescuers. They gently placed Abby into a duffel bag, carefully lifting her out of the darkness. Above ground, the dog instantly recognized Jeff, letting out a joyful bark as she pressed into his hand. Abby's survival showed just how strong the bond between humans and animals can be, even after 60 days in total darkness. It might sound impossible, but imagine packing boxes in a hurry and accidentally mailing your pet cat hundreds of miles away. Well, that's exactly what happened to Cupcake, a Siamese cat from Cornwall, England, in 2016. Her owner, Julie Baggett, unknowingly sealed Cupcake inside a box filled with DVDs and shipped it 260 miles to Sussex. 8 days later, when the box arrived and was finally opened, Cupcake leaped out, weak, dehydrated, but thankfully still alive. Shocked, the recipient quickly contacted the RSPCA, who traced Cupcake's microchip and alerted Julie. When wildfires swept through Altadena, California, in 2025, most residents barely had time to grab essentials before fleeing. Unfortunately, Rocky, a beloved 100-pound tortoise, was accidentally left behind in the chaos. His family feared the worst, assuming the fire had consumed everything. Weeks after the flames had finally subsided, sheriff deputies returned to survey the scorched land. That's when they noticed something extraordinary. Rocky had survived, safely hidden deep inside a burrow he dug himself beneath the burned-out yard. Deputies gently pulled Rocky from the ashes, astonishingly unharmed, and carried him back to his anxious family. The moment he was placed down, Rocky's relieved owners erupted into cheers, hugging their resilient pet. When Hurricane Harvey devastated Texas in 2017, it separated thousands of pets from their owners, and Maddie, a gentle senior black dog, was among them. Her owner, Rachel Coster, searched desperately after the storm, but as months turned into years, she slowly began losing hope of ever finding Maddie again. Then, 3 years later, something incredible happened. A complete stranger spotted a photo of a senior black dog posted online by a rescue group and recognized Maddie from Rachel's original search posts. Rachel immediately received the call she'd been dreaming of. Maddie was alive, safe, and had been cared for all those years. Their emotional reunion was captured on video, showing Maddie nuzzling Rachel like they'd never been apart. And if Maddie's reunion brought hope after a devastating storm, the next animal's journey would become a symbol of resilience, capturing the hearts of millions worldwide. In 2015, Storm Desmond unleashed heavy rains, flooding fields and towns across Ireland. Near Killorglin, rising waters stranded Mike, a donkey trapped helplessly as the river quickly rose around him. Rescuers raced against time, launching a small boat into the raging current to save Mike from certain drowning. After careful maneuvering, they managed to loop a life buoy around Mike and tow him safely back to dry land. Exhausted but clearly relieved, Mike quickly became an online sensation thanks to a viral photo showing him flashing an unmistakable grin next to his rescuers. In Norfolk, England, elderly couple Rita and Philip Potter faced every pet owner's nightmare when Daisy, their beloved Labrador, was snatched from their yard by thieves in 2017. They desperately launched nationwide campaigns, gathering over 100,000 petition signatures and even pushing for stricter pet theft laws in the UK, but Daisy remained missing for years. Then, in early 2024, a miracle happened. The RSPCA discovered an older, gentle Labrador wandering alone and, after scanning her microchip, realized it was Daisy. Their emotional reunion made headlines as Daisy instantly recognized her family, tail wagging frantically as she nestled into their arms after 7 long years apart. Her safe return became a powerful reminder to pet owners everywhere never to lose hope. In 2017, Paul Gilbo was moving from Massachusetts to Arizona when tragedy struck. During a stopover at an Oklahoma motel, his beloved miniature pinscher, Damian, slipped away unnoticed. Paul spent days searching, even encountering dangerous wildlife, but Damian was nowhere to be found. Eventually, Paul had to accept the painful reality that Damian was gone. Then, in early 2025, 8 years later, Paul received a text he thought was a cruel joke. "We found your dog, Damian." But it wasn't a joke. Someone had discovered a stray older dog whose microchip confirmed his identity as Damian. Paul immediately drove 14 hours to Oklahoma, and their reunion was heartwarming. Despite the passing years, Damian recognized Paul instantly, wagging his tail furiously as he curled into his owner's embrace. In February 2020, Kevin Coachman, a blind man from Harvey, Illinois, faced an unthinkable loss when Luca, his German Shepherd guide dog, was stolen from his backyard. Kevin made desperate pleas to the community, explaining that Luca was not just a pet, but his lifeline and independence. News of Luca's theft quickly spread, drawing media attention and public support. Just days later, a remorseful teen saw the reports, recognized Luca, and brought him back safely. Kevin's emotional reunion with Luca was captured on camera, showing Luca jumping excitedly, tail wagging wildly, as Kevin tearfully embraced his loyal companion. Their heartfelt reunion served as a powerful reminder of the deep bond between a guide dog and his owner. In May 2013, a catastrophic EF5 tornado ripped through Moore, Oklahoma, flattening homes and devastating communities. Amid the rubble, survivor Barbara Garcia was being interviewed by a CBS News crew about losing everything, including her beloved dog. As Barbara recounted the terrifying experience, something incredible happened live on air. Suddenly, a member of the news crew spotted movement beneath the debris near Barbara's feet. Moments later, they pulled out her little gray schnauzer alive and unharmed. Barbara, overcome with emotion, tearfully scooped up her dog and hugged him close, exclaiming, "Thank you, God." Their unforgettable reunion became a national symbol of hope and resilience in the face of disaster. But while Barbara's reunion happened in front of millions on live TV, our next animal's return was far quieter, yet no less remarkable. Staff Sergeant Mike Alcala worked alongside a German Shepherd named John for 3 years at a military base in Hawaii, forming a bond that went far beyond mere co-workers. But when Alcala received orders to relocate, he faced a heartbreaking reality. He had to leave John behind to continue serving on the island. 2 years passed, but Alcala never forgot his loyal companion, hoping one day to see him again. Incredibly, when John finally retired from service, Alcala jumped at the chance to reunite with him. Their emotional reunion was captured on video as John immediately recognized Alcala, racing toward him and jumping into his arms, tail wagging furiously. It was a powerful reminder of the lifelong bonds forged through service. If Alcala and John's story warmed hearts nationwide, our next reunion made global headlines. Veterinarian Dr. Patarapol Manian treated a severely ill elephant named Plythang in Thailand back in 2009. Plythang suffered from a potentially deadly disease, and after months of intensive care, Patarapol successfully released him back into the wild. More than a decade passed, and Patarapol assumed the elephant had long forgotten him. Then, in 2021, something incredible happened. While conducting research deep in the forests of eastern Thailand, Patarapol recognized a familiar sound, a distinctive elephant call. Moments later, Plai Thang emerged from the trees, cautiously approached, and gently reached his trunk toward Patarapol, clearly remembering the man who saved his life so many years earlier. Their heartwarming reunion instantly went viral, highlighting elephants' incredible memory and deep emotional connections. When a devastating tsunami struck Japan in March 2011, it left behind unimaginable destruction. Amid the chaos, a dog named Ban was swept away into the ocean, presumed lost forever. Weeks passed, and her owner grieved the loss, believing she'd never see her beloved pet again. But then, nearly 3 weeks after the disaster, a Japanese Coast Guard helicopter spotted something remarkable: a dog stranded on floating debris nearly 2 kilometers offshore. Rescuers rushed in, carefully pulling Ban from the ocean. Her rescue footage quickly spread across national news, and her owner instantly recognized the dog she thought was gone forever. Their emotional reunion was broadcast nationwide, with Ban happily leaping into her owner's arms, proving that hope can survive even the most catastrophic events. Now, if Ban's survival seemed impossible, our next reunion involves an animal that spent far longer missing and survived something even more mysterious. When the massive 2011 tsunami hit Ofunato, Japan, the Yamagishi family managed to survive, but their beloved cat Suika vanished without a trace. They searched tirelessly, but months turned into years with no sign of him, and they eventually assumed Suika was lost forever. Then, incredibly, 3 years after the disaster, a couple living nearly 10 miles away found a friendly black cat in a nearby forest. Noticing his collar, they placed a newspaper ad seeking the owner. Amazingly, it was Suika, alive after 37 months surviving on his own. The reunion left the Yamagishi family stunned and overjoyed, with Suika purring contentedly in their arms. His miraculous return was widely reported across Japan, becoming a symbol of hope after tragedy. If you thought you've had enough of jaw-dropping reunions, wait until you hear this, because this next story is all about loyalty that stood firm through fire and ash. In November 2018, when California's devastating Camp Fire tore through the town of Paradise, thousands were forced to evacuate in a panic. Among them was Andrea Gaylord, who had no choice but to flee without her beloved Anatolian shepherd, Madison. Weeks passed with no word, and Andrea feared the worst. But when she returned nearly a month later, she found something unbelievable. Madison, alive and well, sitting among the charred remains of their property. He had never left, loyally guarding what was left of home. Their emotional reunion, captured on video, touched hearts around the world and became a powerful symbol of unwavering devotion. Meanwhile, in 2010, Darren Chick from California lost his beloved African gray parrot, Nigel. Darren spent years searching for him, eventually giving up hope as the trail went cold. Then, 4 years later, something extraordinary happened. Nigel was discovered by a veterinarian who scanned his microchip, immediately identifying Darren as the owner. However, when Nigel returned home, Darren noticed something unusual. The parrot was no longer speaking in his familiar British accent. Instead, Nigel greeted him with a cheerful, "Buenos dias." It turned out Nigel had spent years living with a Spanish-speaking family, and he'd adopted their language and accent. Their reunion quickly made headlines worldwide, charming millions and highlighting Nigel's impressive linguistic talent. Michelle Poole faced every horse owner's nightmare when her beloved saddlebred horse, Opie, was stolen from her family's pasture in Texas. Devastated, Michelle relentlessly searched for him, listing Opie on every stolen horse registry available, but years passed with no news. Nearly a decade later, Michelle received a tip. Opie had appeared for sale on Craigslist in Oklahoma. With help from Stolen Horse International, Michelle quickly confirmed Opie's identity and drove hours to reunite with her long-lost friend. When she called his name, Opie instantly recognized her, trotting forward and affectionately nuzzling her as if no time had passed. The emotional reunion brought Michelle to tears, offering closure after 10 agonizing years. Speaking of, the next story on our list is an animal whose unexpected return brought tears to millions around the globe. When Cayenne, a sweet-natured dog, was separated from her original family, they were left devastated, fearing they'd never see her again. In a video capturing their emotional reunion, Cayenne heard the familiar sound of her family's car and immediately rushed to the door, waiting anxiously. As soon as the door opened, Cayenne burst into tears, whining and leaping into their arms with pure joy. The heartbreaking yet beautiful footage quickly went viral, reminding millions of the powerful, unbreakable bond pets share with their owners. Another unbelievable twist in this lineup, you say? A dog's identity that unraveled like a mystery novel. Back in 2024, shelter volunteer Patrice Lavoie from Quebec City adopted a gentle pup named Leyon from the Spie shelter. But 4 months later, everything changed. After sharing a photo of Leyon in a Facebook dog lovers group, Patrice was contacted by a family claiming Leyon was actually their long-lost pet, Munster, missing for nearly 2 years. After some digging and confirmation, the story checked out. Despite the connection he had formed with Leyon, Patrice made the heartfelt decision to return him to his original family, who also happened to own Munster's parents. The reunion was caught on video, with Leyon leaping into their arms, his joy unmistakable. In 2013, Jennifer Ravenel's beloved orange cat, Sam, disappeared after being startled by a dog outside their South Carolina home. Jennifer desperately searched for months, putting up posters and combing the area, but eventually had to accept that Sam was gone forever. Then, in a stunning twist 11 years later, Jennifer received a call from the Charleston Animal Society. Sam had been found. Animal control officers had discovered him wandering alone, and a microchip confirmed his identity. The heartwarming reunion was captured on video as Jennifer burst into tears, cradling Sam and repeating, "I've missed you so much." Despite the years apart, Sam nuzzled calmly into Jennifer's arms, instantly reconnecting with a family he'd never forgotten. Now, if Sam's decade-long disappearance seems incredible, our next animal's return takes us to circumstances even more bizarre, as it shocked everyone involved. In 2015, Judith Monaraz's beloved Chihuahua mix, Gizmo, vanished without a trace from her Las Vegas home. Judith searched tirelessly, putting up flyers and scouring local shelters, but as months turned into years, she began to lose hope. Then, 9 long years later, Judith received an unexpected phone call. A local vet had found Gizmo, alive but severely malnourished. A good Samaritan had spotted the elderly dog wandering the streets and brought him in. Gizmo's microchip confirmed his identity, and their emotional reunion brought Judith to tears. Despite Gizmo's frail condition, he instantly recognized Judith, cuddling gently into her embrace, finally safe after nearly a decade apart. In 1923, during a family vacation, Bobby, a young Scotch Collie mix, went missing in Indiana, far from his family's home in Oregon. The Brazier family searched desperately, but with no sign of Bobby, they returned home heartbroken. Then, 6 months later, something unimaginable happened. Bobby appeared at their doorstep, exhausted and thin, after walking an astonishing 2,551 miles across rugged mountains, rivers, and freezing winter conditions. Newspapers across America quickly shared the incredible reunion, dubbing him Bobby the Wonderdog. His miraculous journey home made him a national hero and an enduring symbol of loyalty. Even today, Bobby's story is remembered as one of the most astonishing animal reunions in history. In 2006, the Squires family from Boulder, Colorado, was devastated when their beloved calico cat, Willow, mysteriously vanished. Then, 5 years later, the impossible happened. Willow suddenly turned up 1,800 miles away in New York City. The emotional reunion stunned even shelter workers, as Willow immediately recognized her family, purring affectionately after years apart. In 2012, Aaron and Nathan Braun from California lost their beloved golden retriever, Murphy, during a camping trip in the Tahoe National Forest. They spent weeks desperately searching, but eventually returned home heartbroken, convinced Murphy couldn't have survived alone in the wild. But nearly 2 years later, campers spotted a thin, frail dog near their campsite, and after coaxing him with food, they realized he matched Murphy's description. They quickly contacted the Brauns, who rushed back to Tahoe, skeptical but hopeful. The moment Murphy saw them, he wagged his tail excitedly and ran straight into their arms. Mark Wessels from South Carolina temporarily left his beloved black Labrador, Bucky, with his father in Virginia in 2012. Bucky, however, missed Mark deeply and soon escaped, disappearing without a trace. Mark searched desperately, but weeks passed with no sign of Bucky anywhere. Then, 6 months later, Mark received an unbelievable call from an animal shelter in Myrtle Beach, over 500 miles away. Bucky had somehow traveled that incredible distance on foot, enduring harsh weather and unknown dangers, all to find his owner again. In February 2019, a small dog named Miracle captured hearts worldwide when she was spotted struggling to survive in the icy Detroit River. Crowds gathered anxiously, and local news stations broadcasted the rescue live, keeping thousands of viewers on the edge of their seats. Heroic rescuers risked their own safety, carefully venturing onto the ice and pulling Miracle from the freezing water just in time. Once safe, Miracle was quickly identified, and her emotional reunion with her grateful owner was broadcasted live, bringing viewers to tears. Oliver, a 2-year-old tabby, slipped out of his family's home in Lake Zurich, Illinois, and never returned. His owners feared the worst after spotting a similar cat struck by a car, and believed their beloved pet had been killed. 10 years later, in a completely different city, Chicago's River North neighborhood, 37 miles away, volunteers from a local wrap-neuter return program spotted a stray they'd been feeding for 6 years. When they scanned his microchip, they were stunned. It was Oliver. The volunteers immediately contacted Oliver's family, and the reunion was captured on camera. A beloved family dog taken from her yard in Baytown, Texas, back in 2018. Security footage captured the heartbreaking moment strangers lured her out and drove away. The family never stopped hoping, but as years passed, their chances seemed slim, until a small-town animal control officer in Borger, Texas, spotted a stray with unusually gentle behavior. One microchip scan later, and Sheibba's identity was confirmed. A video call with her original family brought instant recognition and happy tears. Believe it or not, one dog's name has become forever linked to one of the most powerful real-life examples of loyalty the world has ever seen. That dog was Capitan, a German shepherd from Argentina whose story began in heartbreak but ended in legend. When Capitan's owner, Miguel Guzman, passed away in 2006, the family thought Capitan had simply run away. But days later, they discovered him at the local cemetery, curled up beside Miguel's grave. Somehow Capitan had found the site on his own, and from that moment on, he refused to leave. For 11 years, Capitan slept by the same headstone every single night. Cemetery staff cared for him, but his place was always at Miguel's side. And that wraps up today's video. Which of these heartwarming animal reunions hit you the hardest? Let me know your favorite story down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more unbelievable real-life moments like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.